Jamie? No, we can't hear that. Oh my God. Jamie? Oh my God. I'm gonna have to change the.
I don't see it. What is a good thing? I can't hear and can't see, so what am I doing here?
Moral support.
What?
But she has a good printout.
Get serious.
Come on.
Now, girls, settle down. I don't want to have to separate you.
You don't want to hang around with us.
Can I hear you?
All right, can you hear us now?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
You can?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Wow! This is great!
Do you want to see the board or do you want to see the audience? Hey, everybody.
I'd like to see the audience. I mean, at least a little bit.
Can you see them?
Uh-huh.
Okay, great.
And somebody in the room is gonna take attendance, right? Like a sign-in sheet?
We have one going.
Thumbs up. All right. Should we just get started?
Can you turn this down? Don't touch it.
Yeah, we can turn it down. I just asked him, he's got a, oh, there it is. Thanks, thanks, Rick.
That's okay. I have a better view of everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
how's that?
Move back.
Testing.
And I could see it.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Eric, do you want to kick it off by saying anything?
We're now in a selectmen's meeting, and we're here for a presentation by Kaplan Associates, a consulting firm that's hired by MEMA to help us with our hazard mitigation plan. This is something we do every 5 years or so to identify hazards in town and to come up with strategies on how to mitigate them and save ourselves trouble down the line. This is mostly climate change oriented. But now I just turn it over to Jamie.
All right, well, thank you so much. So as Eric said, my name's Jamie Kaplan, and my firm was chosen by the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency to update your hazard mitigation plan. And what I'm going to do today is help you understand what that plan is and how you can contribute some information to it. So everybody who's got, if you're on Zoom, and those of you in the room, if you've got a cell phone or a laptop or PowerPoint or something, and you can open a browser, you can go to the website menti.com, it's MENTI.com, and then put in that number. You don't download anything. You just type in this number 5576-2970, and you should then see this screen. And that's going to give you the chance to participate in the meeting. Eric, is it okay with you if we record the meeting? I forgot to ask you.
Do you want me to record it? Or what do you say?
It's okay with me, yes.
I'll record it and then you'll have it.
Recording in progress.
Okay. So when you get to the menti.com, you can give a thumbs up for those of you who got there. It'll make an easy way for you to participate in the meeting, and the instructions will show up again and again, so don't worry. And if you can't do it, don't worry about that either. All right, so if you are on menti.com, you can answer this question by typing in the response, and this is just kind of a practice question, if you will. What do you like most about Hardwick? And for those of you in the room, You can just call out your answers, or we can also type them into the chat, whatever you feel like.
I'm on here so I can type in what you guys want to say.
Anybody want to put anything in?
Close this goes.
What do you like about Hardwick? It does matter. Somebody said the rural character of the town.
Don't live in
Yeah, small town life.
Small town life, that's a good one.
Chloe, what do you think?
Anybody else?
You've been here a long time.
Hadn't thought about it. I don't live in Hardwick. I live in Gilbertville.
Well, there you go. All right. That's a point.
Okay, anybody else want to contribute anything? People willing to help one another?
The community, yep, that's exactly what I was just thinking.
Yeah, the community, that makes sense.
The light traffic on the roads.
That's a good one.
That's
Yeah, you don't
something
wanna
I
go
like
east.
about it.
All right, clean air, community support, those are good ones. Great. All right, we'll keep going. So what we'll do today, as I mentioned, brief introductions mostly to the consulting team. We'll go over what hazard mitigation is and what a hazard mitigation plan is. Then we'll work together to identify natural hazards and critical facilities. And then we'll brainstorm some possible mitigation actions and some next steps. So the big picture for you to know today is that I want you to have a real understanding of what is hazard mitigation and what the plan is all about and what's going to be included in the plan. So just a little background information for all of you. These are pictures of the leads of the planning team. We are under contract with the state our original contract called for 14 hazard mitigation plans in the state, and then the state extended the contract to add 6 more communities, and they plan to then add another 11. So we've done a lot of work in the state of Massachusetts, but we do work nationwide as well, doing mitigation planning and other emergency management work. So we're well schooled in all of this, I'm gonna tell you. We've been doing it for a very long time.
She said, look, this is how many plans they
Did somebody have a question?
Nope.
So let's talk about what hazard mitigation is. So FEMA defines hazard mitigation as any sustained action taken to reduce or eliminate long-term risks to life and property from hazard events. And we're looking for actions or projects, if you will, that we can do to minimize risk to people and property, as well as the environment, from natural hazards. It's a federal requirement that the plan include all possible natural hazards, and that's where we put our focus. And it's been proven that for every dollar you spend mitigating risk, you save approximately $6 or more on future disaster losses. And so what that means is, for instance, if you have a bridge that overtops with water and collapses, when you replace that bridge, it's exponentially more expensive than if you retrofitted the bridge or put it in a place where it wouldn't overtop. Does that make sense? That's the kind of projects that we're thinking about and what we're looking for. And then the hazard mitigation plan seeks to identify what those projects will be in your town. So the first piece of the plan includes a community profile, and that really sets the stage for what's there. What does the built environment look like? What's your infrastructure? Who lives there? That kind of thing. Just a big picture, if you will. Then the hazard information and risk assessment, that's where we include all of the possible natural hazards, and then we go into the specifics for what their risk or potential impact is to the community. Then we look at the community's capabilities. This is really the town's capacity to mitigate risk. So what do you have in place now that enables you to mitigate risk? And what maybe you should have or don't have that it wouldn't help you. So we're looking at some opportunities and challenges that may come out of that assessment as well. And then your mitigation strategy is going to be the section of the plan that identifies these projects that, if implemented, you will reduce your risk. And then the last chapter of the plan will be implementation and maintenance. As Eric mentioned in the beginning, the plan is good for 5 years. So with FEMA's approval, your plan is good for 5 years, and then you're eligible for what FEMA calls pre-disaster mitigation funding. So we're looking to identify projects that you can do on nice, sunny, calm weather days, so that when we do have the winter storm or the hurricane or whatever, you won't have a disaster. All right. So when we think about mitigation planning, there are many benefits to having the plan in place, as well as just developing the plan. So the plan seeks to identify cost-effective actions to reduce risk. I like to say we're not looking for harebrained ideas. We really want to flesh out what is realistic and what will focus on reducing risk to your greatest vulnerabilities, or how to use your resources, on your greatest vulnerabilities. The plan builds partnerships. The process itself, all of you coming together to do this, it is a way to do some partnership building. Also, through the development of the plan, we try and work with the town to make sure that they've got partners outside of their government boundaries, because these natural hazards that we're talking about really don't care about our government boundaries. And many of them we would consider atmospheric hazards, for instance, like extreme cold or snowstorms. So we want to make sure when we're thinking about reducing risk or mitigating risk that we're crossing those boundaries and working in partnership. The planning process itself, as well as the plan, will increase awareness of hazards and risk. I think that you'll leave today with some information that maybe you didn't have when you got here, so that's good. The plan communicates the town's priorities, so these are not cookie cutter documents. Each plan we develop is unique. I mean, it's laid out in the same way, but the contents is unique, and it reflects the priorities of the community. And part of the way we do that is review other plans that you have in place, as well as talk to and work with all of you. And by doing that, we hope to align with your objectives, other things that you want to do, for instance, some climate adaptation that you care about. And then ultimately, implementing the plan should save lives and money. So those are the benefits of the mitigation plan. Our process for putting the plan together began back in September with a kickoff meeting. It'll finish up in approximately April by submitting the plan to the state. That's MEMA, the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency. MEMA will review the plan to make sure it meets federal requirements and state requirements. Once MEMA is comfortable, they like the plan, they send it directly to FEMA for their review and approval. Once FEMA's comfortable with the plan, they send it back to the town saying it's approved pending adoption. And it's at that time that the select board for Hardwick should formally adopt the plan. As the head of the consulting team, I'll work with you through that process of review and adoption. Looking at this timeline, the most important part for you to understand in the timeline is that top line shaded in green is really talking about community engagement and the meetings that we have. So we have 2 public meetings scheduled, and then in March an opportunity for the public to review the plan. When we're not meeting with the public, we've got what we call HMPC meetings, and that's the Hazard Mitigation Planning Committee. So through the entire planning process, no matter what we're doing on kind of the back end, if you will, as a consulting team, we're working in conjunction with the town. So when we develop the plan, the first thing that we do is look back to your previous plan, which is from 2019. And then we're also looking at the state's plan. The state hazard mitigation and climate adaptation plan was just released. It's an update, a 5-year update to their previous plan. And it's a federal requirement that your plan be consistent with the state's plan. So hazards that they look at as a state, we have to look at for each town, and sort of the priorities we can have to be consistent with. And then we also look to what's called your municipal vulnerability preparedness plan, which is from 2022. So that's much more recent, and I'm sure some of you had a role in that. So your old mitigation plan and your what we call MVP plan both include actions that you had hoped to implement to mitigate risk. The MVP plan really includes more recommendations than what I would consider actions, but they're close. So we need to tell FEMA what you've done to date, and then we start coming up with the new ones. So part of the way we do this is gather as much information as we can from you, and we look to what other plans you may have in place. And so this is just a list of some of the types of plans that towns may have. So we get our hands on as much as we can and scour that information to make sure that we're representing your community well. Then the next thing that we do is put together this hazard mitigation planning committee. And each town we work with has a committee, and then at least one, if not two, liaisons. So for instance, Eric Valheim is our lead liaison on your end that we work closest with. And all the committee members are responsible for providing us as a consulting team with supporting data and information. So we are very good at mitigation planning, but we don't know anything about Hardwick, right? So we have lots of questions, and we need to get as much information as we can from all of you. And so the committee has to respond to those questions, and we meet with them every month or every other month. Then the committee members also assist with outreach and what we call stakeholder engagement. So that's part of how you got here today. If you saw a flyer or a press release, I made the original flyer and press release, but then the committee did some work to get that word out there. And all of the committee members also assist in identifying and prioritizing the mitigation actions, that what the town wants to do. And finally, they'll review and comment on the draft plan before it goes to the state and before you all as the public have a chance to review it. So the Hazard Mitigation Planning Committee can kind of grow and change as the planning process goes along, but at the moment, this is who's on your committee. And you can see here, we've tried to represent the different departments in town. We've got your emergency management folks and first responders, as well as planning, water treatment, parks and rec. You know, it's a broad spectrum of people who understand what's going on in your community. All right, so let's get into the hazards. So the first step is for you all to help make a list. What natural hazards are you most concerned will impact your community? And you can type them into the chat or call them out or write them right into Mentimeter if you've got that going.
I think
So
winter
you tell me,
storms,
let's make a list.
winter storms knocking out our power concerns me most.
Okay. Winter storms knocking out power. What else we got?
Trees falling,
Trees falling?
yeah, like on the wires or in somebody's yard, and
And why will the trees fall?
because of it could be wind, could be snowstorm, could be saturated ground, because we've had water, too much water this year.
Great. So that ground saturation, wind, snowstorms, those are the hazards. And the trees falling and the wires coming down would be sort of the impacts of that. All right, so we know we've got high winds, we know we have winter storms. What else? Water contamination is a good one to consider. And why is the water going to get contaminated? Any ideas? That was kind of an extra credit question.
Well, flooding of septic treatment would contaminate the water, or industry.
Great. Any other hazards that you want to consider? It's a big plan. We get to look at as much as you want. All right. Well, let me show you the list that we have. So this is the list that we're going to look at in your plan. Extreme temperatures, that's going to be extreme heat or extreme cold. And we certainly are seeing more and more extreme heat days, right? We're having more hot days than we ever have. We'll also look to drought, earthquakes, flooding, hurricanes and tropical storms. That's your high wind, some of your high winds. Invasive species, that may also contaminate your water. Landslides, severe weather, severe winter storms, tornadoes, and wildfires or brush fires. So as you can see, we come up with kind of a laundry list, right? We think of as many as we possibly can. And then for each of these hazards, we also want to consider how, well, I'll get into it in a minute, how climate change impacts them. So for every hazard, we do what's called a profile. The first part of that is a description. What is an earthquake? What is a flood? Then we want to talk about where is it going to happen. For hazards like high winds, the location would be probably your whole community almost equally. But for something like flooding, you're not going to see that equally throughout town, right? You're going to see that happen more adjacent to streams or ponds or rivers, what have you. Then we're going to look backwards. What's occurred in the past? Have you had these hazards impact you in the past? We look to the extent, and that means that range of possibility, right? So could you have a huge earthquake, like a 7.0 earthquake? Probably not. Whereas if we were sitting in California, we would say, yes, that's possible. Then we think about the probability of your future natural hazards, how likely it is to have this hazard happen in the future. I think we could all agree we will have a winter storm this winter, right? If we didn't, we'd be very, very surprised. Whereas will we have an earthquake? Not as likely. And then we look to what is vulnerable. What will be the impact to you all and to your built environment based on that hazard. Then finally, we look to climate change, and we want to understand, we don't look at climate change as a hazard in and of itself. We look at how it's impacting the other hazards. And there's recently, Massachusetts did a climate change assessment for the state, and they divided the state into these different regions. And we can see here that each region, the impacts are slightly different, but we do consider damage to, it's hard for you to read this, I'm sure, damage to electrical transmission and distribution, freshwater ecosystem degradation, reduction in the availability of affordable housing. These are some of the priority impacts that we see. And increased demand for services and an increase in costs of responding to climate migration, right? People are moving based on the climate. So that's something that we consider in your plan as well. Then we start thinking about your critical facilities, right? We want to look at how these hazards will impact your community specifically. When we think about critical facilities, often we would say that they are, or we would consider them to be, the structures necessary for a community to respond or recover in an emergency situation. So that brings to mind things like fire stations, police stations. We also want to consider if you've got long-term care facilities or other healthcare facilities. If you've got emergency shelters, which may be your schools, it may be the building you're sitting in, the room you're in. We want to look at your utilities, right? Your water supply, wastewater treatment facilities, power, and finally communication facilities. So we're trying to get an understanding of what you rely on. And this list of types of critical facilities, we would show to any community we're working with. It could be a large city, an entire county, or a town smaller than yours. And then we get to define for that community, what are their critical facilities? So let's do that as a group and figure out what are your critical facilities? What do you rely on? Your buildings or your infrastructure that you rely on? And you can type them in, call them out, write them in the chat, whatever works for you.
Fire station. Oh, sorry.
Sewer is a good one.
Well, there's two in Hardwick.
Water
Public sewers.
Water treatment plant.
Good one. Where are you, oh, the people in person, where are you sitting right now?
In Wheelwright.
We were.
And we're in the municipal office building.
Okay.
We do have 2 water treatment facilities that are critical.
Okay. What else?
Fire station.
Good one. Fire.
Water works for Hardwick and Wheelwright.
Great. Waterworks.
The water.
Water.
Can you think of anything else?
Well, our emergency shelter is the elementary school.
Okay, good one. All right, so based on our work to date with the Hazard Mitigation Planning Committee and the research that we've done, this is the list that we have so far. And with the list, what we do is we map that. And I know the map is way too small for you to see, but once you see the plan, you'll be able to see it, and you'll be able to, we can zoom in and create large maps with different pieces. But what we're trying to do here is find out where is that intersection between natural hazards and critical facilities. So we've got our list of natural hazards, we have our list of critical facilities. The next step is that understanding that risk. So where do these hazards and these critical facilities, as well as what we would call community assets, where do they overlap? Where are the problems? And based on that, we try to, this is some of what it will look like when we do that combination. This is an example map of your flood risk. We can map all of the buildings in the community, not just your critical facilities, to see where is the flooding compared to where are the buildings. So we come up with, at the moment, this is very, very preliminary, there's 23 single-family homes at flood risk. There are roads impacted, there are undersized culverts, and if there was gonna be a flood, and this is kind of a weird flood, because this analysis is saying that all of the possible floods happen on one day, then you would have not quite $500,000 worth of loss. And these are the facilities that would be at loss. So we're really playing like if you have kids that do any kind of gaming, like a sim disaster, right? We're trying to understand where the problems are. And then based on that, we're gonna try and figure out what can we do about it. So when we start thinking about what to do about it, we're thinking about these problems that come up from the mix of hazards and the built environment and the people, right? So some of the mix is there are gonna be underserved communities or socially vulnerable people who may be impacted by one of these or more of these hazards. We'll be able to identify your structures that are at risk. We'll look to what systems are possibly at risk. That can include like events that you have. It could be your cultural resources, natural resources. So we identify as many problems as we can, and then we start thinking about solutions. And this is about where we are in our planning process now. So in our process, we're just finishing up. We're moving towards finishing up our risk assessment and the capabilities that I mentioned to you before, and beginning to answer this question: what are the greatest impacts? And then we'll say, what can we do about it? So you tell me, what do you think are some of the big impacts to people and property in town from these natural hazards? Any idea? There's not really right or wrong answers. Just ideas.
Would it be flooding?
Flooding is definitely gonna come up, and what's gonna happen when it floods?
Damaged buildings?
Damage to the buildings,
Damaged
right?
buildings, roads,
Damage to roads,
vehicles, private property.
right. And when all of that happens, it's expensive, right? We're thinking not just about, there can be loss of life, and these damaged buildings or roads need to be fixed, but then there's that ripple effect of people can't get to work, or your kids can't get to school.
Affects the economy.
Yeah, it definitely hurts the economy. All you have to do is ask a parent what happens when there's a snow day, and they understand, right? It's a disaster. All right, so that's what we try and think about. And then when we come up with our mitigation actions, just as a reminder for you, these are those projects or the plans that you can have to reduce these risks so these problems don't happen. So we get ideas from meetings like this one and from the Hazard Mitigation Planning Committee. We look to your previous plan and see what you've done, and to your MVP plan. And then we'll get ideas from the analysis we run, the risk and analysis and the capability assessment. And when we mitigate risk, when we're trying to come up with these solutions for the problems, if you will, all those solutions will fit into one of these four categories. Local plans and regulations. This has to do with how land and buildings are developed and used, right? So if you say, if there's building codes, so buildings have to be built to a certain standard or can't be built in certain areas, that would be a way to mitigate risk. Structure and infrastructure projects are fairly easy to identify. That would be things like putting a better bridge in or a new culvert. Natural systems production. These are projects that you can do to preserve or restore natural systems, natural functions, right? So if we're shoring up the edge of a river, for instance, then the water's going to stay in that riverbed. And we can do that shoring up as a way to prevent flooding. And then education and awareness programs, the more your community is aware of how to mitigate their own risks on their properties and homes, as well as the outreach and education that the town can do. So those are the kinds of projects that we're looking for. So I thought we'd kind of move towards wrapping up with you giving me some ideas of what you'd like to see in the mitigation plan and how you think the town can mitigate risk to the hazards that have been identified to date. So any ideas on how you want to mitigate risk? They're only good ideas. Because really, we're at this brainstorming stage, so if there's something you'd like to see happen in your community, I want to know about it.
I'd like to see the dead trees taken down along the roads.
Okay. Good one.
Another would be to know where the storm runoff is going to create a lot of flooding issues and undercutting of roads, and start prioritizing where that needs to be addressed.
Okay. Perfect. That's a really good one. I love it. What else? Any other ideas? There are things that could happen so that you can carry on your life as though there's no natural hazard happening. So you would experience little to no impact from it. What could the town do?
Get a hospital in our area again.
That I can't promise. Actually, I come with no promises, but that's one that feels a little out of the realm. All right. Okay, well, we'll come back to this. We are gonna have 2 public meetings. So the next public meeting that we have will most likely be in March. And then either in March or April, sort of depending on how our process moves along, you'll have the opportunity to review the draft plan. In our next public meeting, we'll talk a lot more about the mitigation actions that we've come up with. So I'll be able to show you a good list of what is going to be in the plan, as well as give you a better sense of how to review the plan. So when you get that chance, you know what to look for. So I just wanted to kind of finalize it before I open it up to questions. This is a slide, a graphic that I stole off ready.gov, which is a good website if you've never taken a look at it. And these are things that we all can do on our own to mitigate risk or prepare for a disaster. And the better off that we are, then the less burden we are to our first responders and our towns and communities. I'm in Northampton. I think I forgot to mention that to you. So sign up for alerts and warnings. That's something you want to make sure that you do. Make sure that you're practicing emergency drills. Make sure your kids know what to do if there's an emergency. I used to tell my kids when they were little, if there's a fire, leave the house and go to the mailbox. Go to the end of the driveway, stay at the mailbox. Because I knew then a first responder would see them there. Whereas, you didn't want them to go hide in the woods or something. Anything you can do to make your home safer, right? So you have smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, that kind of thing. And participating in meetings like this, getting engaged and involved with your town so you have a better sense of what the town can do and maybe where they could use some of your help. So that's just food for thought. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have. We have a few more minutes if you have any questions. And I hope this was helpful. Oh, I see that. The impact of flooding or fires on current half unlined dump. All right. Thank you. Any questions from the room or Zoom land? Was this helpful? Do you think you have a better sense of what the plan is about? You guys didn't fall asleep, did you? All right, you're there.
No.
At least I know you're there. All right, well, I don't need to keep.
Jamie, I do have one question. Did I understand that once we have this plan approved by the state, you mentioned a 5-year period of time before we can get FEMA funding? Is that accurate?
No, so what's gonna happen is the state reviews the plan and then FEMA approves the plan. Once FEMA approves your plan, your select board needs to formally adopt the plan. You just sign a form that says you've adopted it. And then you have 5 years from that day to be eligible for pre-disaster funding from the government. So you apply for that funding. You'd write grant applications for these projects or these mitigation actions. And within the 5 years, that's when you can apply for the funding. Then you update your plan so that you can continue applying for funding. So you're only eligible for some of that money by having the plan in place.
And if, for example, one of the town's plans regarding cultural resources was to try to get grants and fundings to restore some of the older cultural buildings, could we also be seeking funds from a hazard perspective for the
absolutely.
same kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you can look for funding from as many places as you want. You'd only be eligible for that FEMA funding, which would flow through the state by having the FEMA approved plan. But yeah, so like if you've got a cultural building, or say you have a library, right? Your library, if you want to retrofit the library in some way, then you can put in the plan that your library is a heating and cooling center and it needs to have a backup generator or an air conditioner, that kind of thing. And you could try and seek federal funding for that. Did that kind of answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So no guarantees with the funding. It's competitive typically. The only time it wouldn't be competitive is if you had a very large disaster. And then regardless of your status of having a plan, money would flow to you. Other questions about the plan?
Would another mitigation strategy be to have identified the vulnerable residents' homes, to be prepared to check on them, to get food and other supplies to them in a disaster?
Yes, and that's something that typically we see either a council on aging or a fire department may be aware of which residents are vulnerable. But we could certainly put something in the plan that those residents need to be identified so that assistance is prioritized to them. And so that they know what they can do if they have the capacity to do anything, and so they know what to expect from the town.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, well, the last slide, and those of you in the room have it, but I'll make sure you can post this on the internet if you want, and I'll send you a copy of the recording, Eric, so you have that. But my contact information and Eric's is on the last slide, so sometimes a meeting like this really starts to get the juices flowing, if you will, right? So you might think of something else, and if you do, reach out first to Eric and then to me, of course, and I'm happy to take your questions or add things to the plan based on your comments. And that's all I've got. So, Eric, is there anything else from the room?
I don't think so. They're all still here.
Okay, good.
I think
That's a good sign.
I think there's some interest, so we'll hope that it picks up speed.
All right, good. Yeah, it's a lot to digest. Great. All right. Well, thank you all. It was nice to meet you, and hopefully I'll see you in a couple months at our next public meeting.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so now the Zoom is over and now we're still recording.
We're not we're live.
We're live. We're live on YouTube. Okay, again, I've called the meeting to order. I think if we could do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we could go to visitors' comments. I know Kat's here. Would you, I know you have something to say. I don't know if you want to stay for the whole meeting, but.
Yeah, I hate to interrupt your meeting. I
No, no,
really need to be.
we're on the agenda as visitors' comments, so it's your turn if you want to speak.
Yeah, all I wanted to say is basically, well, the town has tried to work with me to perpetuate what I'm doing with the Whistle Stop to bring a train to the town and to create more jobs here. I've had an awful time getting past the building inspector. I feel that I'm probably 90% of the way or 95% of the way within January, but it's cutting me to the quick. It's been well over a year that I've worked on this, and I just think the town should consider getting somebody else to do the inspecting. This is a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have had been put through, and it's that I've had a lot of willpower to make it there. But normal people shouldn't have to go through this, and I've heard quite a few people complain, but they don't have it. They don't have it to step up because they don't want to be punished later on, you know, by him when something doesn't happen. But I think it's about time that you probably consider to get somebody else. I think I'll probably make it to where I want to be, but if there's other people, he's not helping. There's no reason that people have to come with a book of knowledge to find out what they need to do in this town. There's no reason that I have to go from person to person in this town to try and get help and be educated on some of the stuff that he could have just helped me with all along. So I would like you guys to consider that. It's more than one person that has talked to me over there, but again, they don't want to say anything, they don't want anything to happen to them, so. But I really hope that I can make it the rest of the way. It's been a long way down the road for me, and I feel that I can do a lot for the town and bring a lot to the town. You can't have somebody like this in your town. You're not going to get anywhere with him. People are going to try and come and make businesses and do stuff here, and they're going to again be turned away and not know what to do. You're solely lucky that you have some of the people in your system that have helped people through this. So, I don't have much more than that to say. That's what I want to talk about tonight, and I hope by the 9th that I can complete what I set out to do and start to get the extension on the building. I think that we could do a lot here. So, again, I'm sorry to have interrupted your meeting.
No, it's why we're here.
I did enjoy some of the stuff on the flood because my daughter was in a flood zone in Vermont, lost her whole house.
Yeah.
To it, with the bridge pointing right at her house now that they built. So interesting to hear some of that. But
Now, not to put you off, but could you write a letter?
I could write a letter.
If you could write us a letter. that
I
would
probably
be-
could get some other people, but like I said, you know, they don't want to detriment themselves or, you know, harm themselves when.
Well, I commend you for coming in and stepping up, because this is what we need to hear.
We need to hear it, and if you wrote a letter, we'd have it on record and start to get a kind of a paper trail.
Yeah, because I've talked to quite a few people I don't even know who come to talk to me just because they know what I've been through. They've looked at my ramp or looked at something that I'm doing, and they wonder why it takes me so long to get to where I'm going. For such a small, little tiny building in this town, it should never have taken a year to get this little piece done. So, Anyhow, I've got a great guy that stands behind me and I'm lucky, but without him, we wouldn't probably make it to this point. So, other people probably are not that lucky, that they just don't give up and don't even try. And it seems like this town should deserve more than what it has, you know? There's some good items here that I think could make money and bring people to this area, and it would be fun for people. Not with that guy. Anyhow, everybody have a good night. Thanks, Kat.
Thank you.
Good night. Any other visitor comments? Any new business?
No, there's both A, B, C, D, E, or A, B, C, D. Oh, there's two C's. So the letter of support for the OSRP, Open Space and Rec Plan, all I need you to do is, vote to authorize me to send a letter of support for the Open Space and Rec Plan. The planning board has to do the same thing, and that will be complete. And then we'll be eligible for grants through that plan as well.
Please.
I would make a motion to have Nicole put together a letter and send off, oh my God, I'm so sorry, to,
In support.
in support of the 2003 Open Space and Recreation Plan.
Second that.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. We used Quabbin Land Trust Conservation Restriction on Ruggles Street. Mr. Zinni.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Turns out that I actually realized that I have our signed and notarized copy from our last recent meeting of this conservation restriction for 34 acres and over on the wheelwright side along the Ware River. This is a piece of property owned by the East Quabbin Land Trust. We have been cooperating back and forth, we being the Conservation Commission, with the Land Trust with respect to conserving some of these properties. And we have several conservation restrictions that you are aware of, that you helped us approve and signed off on before. And that's what this request is. I can sit here so I'm not standing right in your face, and hang on, I can give you a little bit of background. So it's 34.5 acres. There are some maps here if you want to. I don't think the restriction itself had any maps, but
Yeah, we have some in what was in our
well, this will
plan.
show you where it is. It's just downstream slightly from the town's wheelwright sewage treatment plant. And there's Sanauskas property, which is already conserved land around this sewage treatment plant. This particular piece is between the rail grade, the rail trail, and the river itself. It doesn't have any road frontage. It's river floodplain and a good bit of wetland. And it provides a great opportunity really for access to the river for
It's
conservation.
not off of Ruggles Street? Is this off of Ruggles Street?
Believe it or not, it's not really off any street.
It's not Ursula's?
It is the Rosen property, and so here's what it looks like. There's no
Where was her
road.
house?
There's no road that I can see that goes directly to it.
No, it's the railroad right away, right?
It's the rail grade. Yeah,
And the river. Nice.
and the river. So it's really a great opportunity. The land trust already owns it, but we've worked together in cooperation with the land trust to have the town holds certain conservation restrictions, kind of as a team effort and partnership. And that's what this would be. So the Conservation Commission voted to approve this ourselves and add this to the several properties that we already have this agreement on. And now it's coming to you for your approval and signature. And I'm happy to answer questions. I have a few pieces of info, like it includes 2,700 feet of frontage along the Ware River, priority wildlife habitat, wetlands, pieces of river oxbow. There's a walking trail that already exists. And again, if you have any questions that I could help with, I'd be happy to answer if I can.
Well, it's a lovely piece of ground.
Okay.
Well, I'd seek a motion to accept this.
I move to accept the conservation restriction on this property. Look, do you have the book in, just go to the Main Street address?
We do have it in here somewhere.
Page somewhere, it's, yeah, this page is blank.
Is it on the front page? Written in? No.
I may be able to find that, let's see. You know, I'm pretty sure that one of those pages may have it, let me check.
I'm finding it here.
Exhibit A, wherever that is.
It's Plan Book 957, page 44, Registry of Deeds.
That sounds right.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
I know, you guys can see the mark, it's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Zinni.
Thank you.
You guys are left black, so it's fine.
Is that okay? Is that enough?
Things are-
Annual renewals.
How do you wanna do that? Do you want me to go through each one and say what it is?
Sure.
So everybody's applications were complete. Those are liquor. Oh, you're gonna start with that, okay.
Oh, sure, I guess. Okay. So I would make a motion to renew Hardwick Crossing Inc.'s liquor license for 2024. Would you want me to
Second.
list them all?
Yeah, okay, you want to do it that way?
Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
So I'll make a motion to renew the following liquor licenses for 2024. Hardwick Crossing Inc., Hardwick House of Pizza Inc., John Samick Hardwick Vineyard and Winery LLC, Hardwick Rotting Gun Club Inc., Eagle Hill School Foundation Massachusetts Inc., Hardwick Market and Package Store, DCTF Corp. Old Furnace, yep, Old Furnace. General Store. Mimi's Coffee House of Hardwick, South Barry Rotting Gun Club. And that's it.
Second that.
Oh, there's another one, hold on. Yeah, Last Town Brewing Company. And then those are just liquor licenses.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So is it just this for,
Yeah, the backup is there, that Eric went through already,
Okay.
and they are all complete as well.
but it's,
Just the licenses are
oh,
there.
they're all,
that's-
okay, gotcha.
I just don't, Mr. Chairman, if you want to bring up the old business.
Go ahead.
what the-
Yeah.
The site affordable cars and the class 2 license, the police conducted a site visit and wrote up a report that you all should have, and they're right next to you as well. And they found 53 vehicles, and some parts, and nobody was on site at the time. And then later that day, the next day, he did make contact with Brian Gillespie, and he wanted to review the vehicle record book. And he said he hasn't sold any cars this year, so, it's in the report. And you also had the last month, all of the pictures and, with the complaint.
Did you read the
So-
report? Yeah, we have a Board of Health Board of Health
Yeah.
report from last year.
Do you think it's enough to not renew it right now?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
could I be recognized to address the issue you're talking about and a few other open issues regarding affordable cars from last meeting?
Let me make sure that we're done discussing
Thank you.
this. I think it's a junkyard.
I actually went by it this weekend and was kind of surprised at how many vehicles are actually there.
Yeah, I
It's
think
atrocious.
with the police report of,
Yeah.
so many partials and, so,
The question is something that goes back to the zoning board of appeals, because the planning board issues the license. And wouldn't you go to the zoning board of appeals if you had an issue with the licensing authority?
I think we license.
But we license them
Well, we
as,
license
right,
them, but they're permitting
you know,
the business,
The
the
special
special
permit.
permitting
Right.
of the business.
And the special permit goes back to Abatements, so that's,
That's a whole
in
nother.
my
Right.
mind, that's almost problematic.
Yeah.
But I think if it's a junkyard, all the permits and
it's not what we're, yeah,
okays
and I'm not
are
okay.
about
I'm
used
not
cars,
comfortable.
not junkyard.
Right. I'm not sure I'm comfortable renewing his permit.
I'm with you. I mean, it's been an issue.
It has been, it's been
Yeah.
ongoing,
If you haven't sold a car this year. then it's-
correct. And that's what it is for.
Sir, would you like to speak?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Jim St. Laurent, I'm one of the owners of 2089 Greenwich Road, where Mr. Gillespie leases a commercial building on site. And one thing I'd like to do is, at the last meeting, there was a Attorney General's investigative report that I released to your board, and one of the complaints on file was illegible because it was a handwritten document, and it was copied and scanned, and it was missing a lot of verbiage and the details. And tonight we have the grandmother here who wrote that complaint to the Attorney General's office for her granddaughter, and I'd like to ask that you allow her to speak to present exactly what happened in her case. And I also have a supporting document for some statements Mr. Gillespie made at the last meeting, where he said he issued a legal notice to myself and my son Andrew regarding 15 unregistered cars that were left on site by the Bonus estate. And I had a legal document that we received at the closing for the property, an estoppel. That document gives both the previous owner and the leasee to declare anything that's different from the lease that's stated in the lease, to declare it in that document. And there's only one vehicle called out in that document. It was a red Ford pickup truck. It was Ed Banis's, and it was given to Brian Gillespie, titled free and clear, with the understanding that he would maintain and plow the access road, and he doesn't even do that.
Okay, well, and I'm sure you have prepared carefully, but I don't know, I mean, he's not here to answer any further. I would like to hear from, ma'am, if you'd like to speak to this.
I'm Sue Jameson. I live in Hamden, Massachusetts. My granddaughter needed a car for college. She's in college in New Hampshire. And we purchased that car in October of 21. And within 100 miles, it was $5,500. Within 100 miles, the car died. And we called Gillespie, and oh yeah, we'll fix it, we'll do this, we'll do that. Well, we didn't hear from him, and so finally he said, just get it up here. Well, we ended up having it towed up there to Hardwick. He kept it forever. he said, "Hey, it's not off the trunk yet, it's not this, it's not that, it needs a battery, it needs this, an alternator." So finally, my son-in-law said, if it's battery and alternator, just get it back to us and we will take care of it. Well, we live on an dead-end street in Hamden with no lights. My daughter was coming up the road in the dark and darn near hit it. They dumped it off in front of our neighbor's house, sort of in the middle of the road. We had to tow it over to our yard. We had our mechanic look at it. The engine had completely seized up. There was a belt, looked like a new belt, that was cut, like with scissors. It wasn't worn, it was cut. The back end was damaged. I mean, and we tried, I sent a letter to the guy who bought the car. We didn't realize at the time it was a consignment. And we heard that he wasn't supposed to be selling consignment cars. And he refused to have any other dealings with us. I sent a letter to the name of the guy who bought it, never heard anything. My granddaughter saved $5,500. She got it from her uncle who just recently died, and that money is gone now, and...
All right, I'm sorry, we're off our, we're beyond our purview. It sounds like a matter for civil complaints. I appreciate with you coming down here and speaking about this. I think all we can do is grant him a license to continue or not. And if I may, I think we're there.
I mean, it's just no action, isn't it?
Probably
You take no
need
action
a-
outside.
Right, so I
the thing.
can read these that we're gonna renew and I can set that one aside.
Do we want to make a motion not to, or do we just leave it?
All right, make a
Well,
motion
he
not
did
to
send the
renew
notifications, yeah.
Gillespie, is it just Gillespie Auto?
No, I can read it.
Why don't you read it
Okay.
so I can make it?
Okay, so,
Thanks.
all right, so first I will make a motion not to renew Daniel Hersey, Brian Gillespie, Edward McGrew, Ashley Curlig, owners DBA Affordable Cars for 2024.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we've declined his license to operate.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Major, Andrew St. Laurent, also co-owner of 2089 Greenwich Road. He's actually operating 2 businesses down there.
There's that too. There's a lot of
Yeah, we just have
weirdness here,
We just
sir.
have this license.
Oh, that's
That's
it.
all we can do, and we did, and we'll see
Okay.
where it goes from here.
Okay, thank you.
So, and we'll be in touch anytime anything happens with you guys, including you, ma'am. I'm sorry we can't make it right.
Now, my son-in-law said that, we'd love to get our money back, we're gonna take it to court, we'd love to get our money back. But he wanted to see this jerk's license removed.
Yeah.
He said, I'll be happy if they take his license, because he really stuck it to us.
Well, now he's, right, well, we'll see where it goes from here.
Thank you so much.
A pleasure, I suppose. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
All right, so now I'll make a motion to renew the following, I guess I'll say, these are motor vehicle junk license class 3 for Leo Tamkis DBA LNS Used Auto Parts and Leo Ostagi DBA LJ Ostagi Repair. These are different, so I don't know if you want me to just keep reading.
Go ahead, keep it.
Okay. And used car dealer license class 2 to buy and sell secondhand motor vehicles, Gary Gagney, DBA Gagney's Garage. Used car dealer license class 2 to buy and sell secondhand motor vehicles, James Regan, Regan's Repair. Motor vehicle junk license class 3, Charles LeMaitre and Howard Lane, DBA L&L Associates. Used car dealer license class 2 to buy and sell secondhand motor vehicles, Charles LeMaitre and Howie Lane, DBA L&L Associates, and used car dealer license class 2 to buy and sell secondhand motor vehicles, George Riley, DBA Motor Specialties Company.
Second, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I have to sign all these,
Yep.
so don't run away. All right, abatements. Do you have an abatement?
For the 771.
Yep. Just for the 4 apartments, street, the backup is in that middle folder, and the house has been sold, so hopefully it's now gonna be finished and
Okay.
rented out.
Okay.
There's a year's worth of electric bills in here
Yeah.
for
Okay.
nothing, for minimum.
I would make a motion to abate 440, 442, 444, 446 Main Street, Gilbertville, in the amount of $771.76.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Other new business?
I have.
Okay, go ahead.
from today. I got an email from the highway department. They had a second interview and the person can actually start tomorrow. So they would like you to approve the recommendation of Leo Gilson.
Yeah, 1940, and then if he gets his
Yep.
hydraulics, it will go to 2040.
Yes.
Yeah, Lori Huffman actually did call me.
If you wanna
Yeah.
use that for the motion.
I like the fact that he can start tomorrow.
Yeah. Are you good, Rob, if I make a motion?
That's not in the packet because that came to me today. So here's one here if you want. She gave me 4 of them today.
I would make a motion to have the highway department hire Leo Gilson, starting at $19.40 an hour, and when he gets his hydraulics license at his own expense, it will go up to $20.40 an hour, with a start date of tomorrow, essentially 12/12/23.
Second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Aye?
Aye.
I'd, since we're appointing, this has something to do with that. Last meeting, we talked about Ned Kelly's resignation, and we voted to put that vacancy on the ballot.
This is for the library?
Right, for the
Yep.
Page Memorial Library. So, since then, we had a meeting of the trustees of that library, and full disclosure, I'm the chair there too. We did receive a letter from Jenna Garvey. I'm writing on behalf of the Page Memorial Library Board of Trustees to officially inform you that due to trustee Ned Kelly's recent resignation, we have an open seat on the board. Ryan specified that we needed to formally let us know about that. At our meeting on December 7th, the trustees reviewed a letter we received from Stacy Hill asking to be appointed to fill this empty seat on the board until the next town election, where an official vote will fill the seat, will take place. The Board of Trustees respectfully requests that the Select Board, at its earliest convenience, conduct a joint appointment with our board so that Ms. Hill can fill in and serve as an interim trustee. Now, the clerk suggests that we won't be dealing with this until January, and that we post it on the website to see if anybody else is interested. It's only one vacancy, but, and Ms. Hill was there at our meeting, but in fairness, we should put it out there. So,
That's fine.
okay.
Totally your call.
Yeah.
All right, good.
And then we can make that official in January?
Yeah.
If no one else shows interest or,
It should be a joint meeting
oh, okay,
between the board of
Oh.
the trustees and the
Okay.
select board, so they'd come in here at
For
our
our
next meeting.
first January meeting, okay,
Is okay?
yeah, that's fine.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more thing.
Yes, Ken.
We were contacted by a company, Matrix. I know Kelly knows much more about it than I do. And they service cable. And they are requesting to give us some information to service parts of Spring Hill Road and then maybe the chutes off of that road because Comcast isn't out there. So there's no cable, right? So the way they get internet is, I don't even know, like satellite or something. So tomorrow, he's going to send me all of the information to give to you at the meeting in January with all
Okay,
of the
did you reach out
costs
to
and
him?
things like
Okay,
that, yeah.
Perfect.
Yep,
Now, Spring Hill Road is buried.
it's, comes into
It
Hardwick.
comes
North
into-
Road.
Yeah.
North
it comes
Road
into-
becomes,
yeah.
my road turns into Spring Hill
Yeah.
at the town line.
Matrix did the build out in Petersham. They were a completely unserved town at the time, and we initially went to MBI, and when we got our second grant to build out the rest of Hardwick, we wanted Matrix, and we couldn't have them.
Yeah,
So
well, and I'm all for it.
they were great to work with, you know, until we got the, no, you have Comcast.
But we can't approve a poll hearing for Barry.
Yeah, we'd have to just get more information from him
Yeah.
as to what it entails.
There would be,
Yeah.
there would be no more polls put up. It would be going on the Verizon, and, what was the other one? Verizon
So
and
they're just
National
extending.
Grid
National
line.
Grid. So
They're
they
just
would
gonna
just
extend.
expand.
They would
yeah.
just extend
They
it.
would need to get those permits themselves. That's not on us. That's
Well,
on
it's
them
in,
building it.
Spring Hill's in Barry, that's all I'm saying.
And the grant is.
But he's
application-
probably thinking where it continues into Hardwick.
Or he wants to take it from Hardwick into Spring Hill, I don't know. I have cable.
Yeah.
No,
on
he's
that
there, they already have the agreement with Barry, so they're already
Yeah.
doing it over there.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And then there's a grant that we could go for that closes in April, so this isn't, something that's pressing right now, so I can have that information for you at the next meeting, and maybe even have him here, if I think that it's really worth it. I don't know what it's gonna cost, I don't know anything about it, I mean, it's
Yeah,
absolutely
he just
brand new
reached
to
out
me, I have
pretty, yeah.
no idea how
Good.
that goes, but it's good to learn about it, so. That's all I
Okay.
have.
Meeting minutes. Minutes approval.
I'm good. You want a motion now?
I need to ask for a small amendment to November 27th. On the last page, Selectboard Roundtable, EV wanted to thank LeGrant Electric for their help in obtaining a working generator at the firehouse. I did specify, and it's not noted here, that we received that generator as a gift
Yeah,
from
Eagle Hill.
Eagle Hill School. So I'd like to add that in the record, because it was really LeGrant and Eagle Hill that made it all happen, and the chief. We, shelter and everything, so. Thank you. Otherwise, I have no problem.
No, you weren't at the other one, so, The other
That's
one's
true.
old.
Yeah,
yeah. I would make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from November 27th, 2023, with the addition of the comment that Eric just made to the Selectmen Roundtable section.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would also make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 26th, 2022.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, I abstain. Now I've lost my agenda. Old business. Discussion of affordable cars. Discussion regarding fire chief replacement due to retirement. What we do have to do is formally notify the state fire marshal that I would like to highly recommend that we appoint Josh Pease as an interim fire chief and notify the state fire marshal, because the chief goes out on the 21st. So that's 10 days away, and then we can deal with how it's working out at a later date. But as far as I can tell from talking to the chief, they need to know,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
for a legal bit.
We'll make that motion.
If I,
What about his pay?
Mr. Chairman,
Hold on.
may I have, if they just, I mean, so for your own knowledge, because Josh has been on about 14 years, I think, on the fire department. Last few years, because, you know, trying to talk to him into taking my place, he actually, with the fire marshal's consent, he actually has to have classes. He has to have, you know, criterias have to be met, which he's done those classes, and there's online classes. So I'm just saying, his appointment from the fire marshal's office should not be an issue. There shouldn't be any problem. He should receive it, is my guess. Just in the fact that he has completed the necessary steps as for fire chief position.
Yeah, I have a question, the rate, pay, the stipend, whatever you wanna call it. I
In the
mean,
vehicle,
Yeah,
those are the only things I can think of right now.
Well, you have to, okay,
'cause, I mean, I think,
well,
I'm not sure, I don't know, I just,
yep, I understand.
if it should be the same pay, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that.
Well, this, that's certainly a conversation we need to have.
Mm.
We can do that now, or,
Well, we should probably, I mean,
we could,
figure,
we could have them
Left in
here.
the budget, too.
hmm?
We gotta figure out what we have left in that budget.
Probably about 15, because he was around 32 and spent half the year. So I should have gotten it, but I didn't, but it's probably around that. I don't know.
I mean, Ray's been doing it a long time.
Oh, yeah.
That's gradually gone up for him for a long, you know, over
Yeah.
the course of a long time.
Yeah, we have to come up with a, well, and earlier I suggested to him that he didn't need to come into our meeting, because I felt that we were gonna talk about it in general terms. I didn't really think
Yeah, this one might have been.
it was like a
Right,
job
right,
application.
Right.
We could, I mean, we certainly could do that at some point, or,
We do a monthly stipend for now. I mean, the problem is he's not here to agree upon it. Pick up $1,000 or $500 a month for as an intern chief.
As interim,
yeah,
you know,
Chief or
and then see how it goes. And then that will put us kinda in line with budgeting for July anyway. As
Yeah.
far as him, you know what I mean?
yeah,
That-
and by us, the clerk specified that by us doing this, appointing him, it would be up in June 30th.
Is it
And
right, as in, correct?
the positions. So, I don't know, it's, I don't wanna negotiate his pay without him
At
here.
present. Well, can we have him at the next one? And, you know, if we owe him something, then we owe him. If we
Yeah,
don't,
well-
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Just put a dollar value to it, just so, because it is a job.
Yeah.
We want to just give a basic dollar value, and knowing that we're gonna.
then we can change
When we
it.
meet with them, we're gonna change it just so.
Well,
we can-
it's not gonna, it wouldn't take effect until almost January anyway.
Right.
So if we dealt with it at our first meeting,
Which is what date in January?
Second Monday, do we meet? First.
Second.
Half of the chief's salary would
8.
still obviously be there in the budget.
The 8th, so just under a month.
so I think that we could
That-
catch up on the next pay cycle.
I'm sure for what he's been making the last couple of years.
That's what I mean, it's
Probably
not,
isn't gonna be a
right,
big
so let's
deal.
have him in the next meeting
I just,
to
just
discuss
don't wanna,
that.
I just don't wanna
that
create
rate.
an issue if we
Yeah.
did something like that.
Yeah, I would say let's have him next time and,
Okay, but we need a motion to appoint him interim chief for now.
I move we appoint Josh Pease as interim fire chief.
second.
Discussion,
We've had it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, so we're covered. Yes, chief?
Yeah. The truck.
Hopefully next week I'll top it off with some information with Nicole on where we stand on some more of the hydrants. One of the guys has been working on, flowing hydrants and moving up and stuff, and found that we have a couple more. So I think now we're up to six non-working hydrants. One of them up on High Street, I think it was, that's very similar to the one down in the senior center, where the hydrant is wiggling, so it's snapped off down below in the barrel. And
Yeah.
that's what the one down here at the senior center is, so I guess it probably during winter time or something got smacked or, backed into or something. And then, we're back up to six.
Perfect.
So you have an inventory of all the hydrants?
He's
Yeah,
got
yeah,
the
that's all.
yellow
They-
badge.
Okay.
I think they next week.
So
So that everybody can see that
Okay,
they're
good.
out of service.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, what about his truck?
Oh, well, I think the Ray could drive it for the next 10 days.
Of course.
Then we'll,
Maybe Eric can drive it.
yeah, then I'll drive it for the rest of the year.
Well, that's fine.
I don't know.
I mean, I just don't know, you're right here. Josh works,
Barry,
in
right,
Barry.
so,
it's the next town over. I mean,
Well, so we need to specify, we need to come up with a policy for town vehicles on private time or something.
So all the contracts do have that in it, but I think we probably have to write up a contract for him too.
right,
And we have to have a personnel meeting pretty soon.
Yeah,
We're gonna
we
do that.
we need to have that anyway, because that's long overdue.
So I'd kick that down the road and let Ray drive it until he's not the chief anymore and then park it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then we can figure out what we're gonna do.
Well, I would assume probably that he would probably keep it at his house, but that when he's, a home available, he has it to run off with. Obviously going to work for the Barry PD. I think the way he was talking before, he was gonna leave it home.
Mhm. Yeah.
Or leave it at the fire
That would
station.
be,
do you actually carry stuff in there that you need at a scene?
Yes.
yeah,
So, we'll talk to him, because he kinda
Yeah.
should, if
It's something that has to be worked out.
yeah.
if he's working nearby, he should have it with him.
Well, yeah. You
So
can't-
if he's policing, is he responding to our fire?
Yeah.
What comes from, that's his,
Well, I know.
this was a little bit of my concern to begin with, because that is also an important job, so I just feel,
Well,
if I was the
there'll be
town of Barry, I
conversations,
would
yeah.
want him policing, not responding. I guess that was my thinking, so that's what makes me a little hesitant,
I don't think he can unless he sets up calling
yeah,
for backup at his end.
Right,
So that
right,
somebody
okay.
fills in.
yeah, so I would
But
think,
that's all stuff that we can,
talk to him about when,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, perfect.
yeah, I didn't invite him here. Well, actually, I did tonight, but he had already
That's okay,
made
we can,
plans. So we'll talk to him.
let's get him in January and figure everything out, at least we can let the fire marshal know.
Yep, yeah, we're covered now.
And we're covered. Yeah.
Okay? We're good? Committee reports.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, there's a couple in here, I think.
We appointing Ron interim police chief? Is that why you're
There
leaving?
goes the piece, I'll walk home.
He's like, no, not going to do me a favor.
I used to be skinny and less gray hair.
More hair. Committee reports. Any committees want to report? Excellent. Miscellaneous correspondence, town administrator report.
So the USDA project is updated here, again, is on the webpage as well, on the wastewater treatment plant page. The only thing I guess to note is that the new drainage work that needs to be done very, very soon, was proposed by Ricciardi at about $32,000. So I reached out to Marty. First of all, I want Marty to go out there with him to the field and make sure that he's okay with what they want, you know, what kind of drainage they want to put in. And then I said, you know, if the highway can do it, you know, if we can do it ourselves and save some money, which would still come out of the sewer budget, but maybe by the highway doing it without prevailing wage, et cetera, you could save some money. I said, but you know, obviously, if you can't, you can't. I don't know if this is a possibility.
I don't think legally you can do that.
I don't know. I asked Marty and so Marty's gonna meet him out there, I think.
Because it's an ongoing project and it's considered a change order, I think Rob's right.
Okay, well, I mean, we gotta spend it. I just thought, you know, cause I know Marty can do it, and we don't have to pay them prevailing wage, but, and Ricciardi, I reached out to Justin and.
But I think that's where it becomes the.
Yeah.
This is where it comes into, back to having oversight. That piece of information shouldn't have been missed, that we didn't have when they moved from one site to another. If we had someone overseeing that on our end, it would have saw that they forgot to adjust the driveway detail to include the drainage feature. But in the plan, it does say that open air swale has to be maintained. It's in the plan their plan. It says it has to be maintained. It's never been maintained since they started working there. So, I see a few issues there, but I don't want to sound like an upset contractor looking at another contractor.
Well, I mean, it would be very helpful for me to know that though, because I can address it immediately with the engineering firm.
Well, I mean, some of the pictures you sent me from the backfilling of the pipe's supposed to be bedded first. It says right in the plan, bedded, and then the pipe's supposed to be laid, and then it's supposed to be covered. A lot of the pipe isn't bedded.
Okay, so, I mean, that's a big issue. We should have stopped them right there.
Right, that's, you gotta be on site, that's up to your inspector on site. I don't know how bad it is, I'm looking at pictures. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at a snapshot of something that, you know.
Well, if you do have any of those concerns, it would be really, really great for me to know them immediately, because I will call DPC immediately and either get the answer or.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Bedding a pipe, I mean, I've only worked low man, putting in septic systems for, you know, I don't know, a long time. And bedding a pipe is absolutely basic.
But maybe it is, and
Maybe
you
it
can
is
see
bedded.
from that
could be.
angle, I don't, you know, so I would have been able to at least get the answer, but it's.
Otherwise you end up with little rocks in there, you know?
That's it, especially in the soil. And then the material that goes above it is supposed to be certain material, and it's all, you know, it's all in the spec. But this is why you hire oversight. It's
Well,
not,
I put-
it's not something that Scott can do, it's not something you can do.
It's definitely not something I can do, but I can facilitate things getting done if I know about them, that's for sure.
Well, you don't
I
know
can stop work
about it unless
immediately.
somebody points it out.
Right.
And here, our oversight was him looking at pictures. So, you know, I mean, that's okay, you can't be everywhere, you can't see.
No, I mean,
everything.
if I did, I would have brought it up before they even covered anything, you know, to say it's being done. But, so, there's that. The EVIP stations, the electric vehicle stations are installed, they're not online yet, they will be this week when the final hire supervisor comes out. And I have documents for you to sign for the Green Community Grant for the weatherization. Still working on the 23 audit, we should have it done very soon, we have to have it done by the 31st, so. And I sent out the peer review at RFP, and I've sent it out to four plan holders have it. So 4 people have asked for the bids, and they're due Wednesday, the 20th. Because I was doing all of this with advertising dates for the state, so I will bring everything to you guys on your first meeting in January. Whoever we get to respond.
Excellent.
Then we can go over them and then we can see if we want to call somebody in. And, all right, is that it for you?
Yeah, other than, I just wanted to recognize that we've gotten calls, emails, and even a couple of cards thanking everybody for the poinsettias. So those thank yous are still coming in from people.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Chief?
Yeah. Before I forget, I just thought of it. If you wouldn't mind, maybe you could please send out a letter also, thank you, or whatever you want to call it, to Frank. Frank is also going to be done with the fire. Cancer. And he's got to be getting close up to my years. What do you say, 48, 49 years service?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I mean, I was on a few more years before Frank, so I'm gonna guess he's probably getting close to that 48, 49, maybe even 50.
I'd like to have a big to-do
Yeah.
to thank you for your service and you for your service and Frank also.
Yeah.
But I wanted to wait till you were actually retired.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Because I didn't know, yeah. I just, a letter or something to Frank, that was all through, thanking him for his time.
And we should do one to Mr. Bagdun too, same animal. All right,
Almost forgot.
anybody else? Just me? I'm losing. I do have one thing to share with the, are we at Selectboard Roundtable?
It's your meeting.
Isn't that
Whatever
great?
you want.
Okay. The roof system at the old town hall, at the townhouse, is being repaired. We had said to do it, and the estimate was $7,000, and they're up there working on it. They were up there today, and Leet found another rafter that was cracked longitudinally. Mr. Korzik went up there, and I said, yes, fix it, and it's not supposed to go over an additional $2,000, but there it is. It's in motion. So,
Thanks for the update.
all right. I was going to call you all, but I left it.
That was effective.
That was effective.
That was very effective.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Signatures and approvals.
That's what we're doing now.
Well, it was a little different, but you are signing. This is to sign to the assessors from the select board to tell them to collect outstanding 2023 Hardwick water and sewer bills, FY23, FY24 to the real estate bills. So they can add all of these.
Do you need a motion for that, or just,
I don't think we need a motion, no.
just need to be signed?
Yep. And then this is the Green Community Grant that you already approved, but I didn't have it for you to sign, so if you just want to, it's just one person, so Eric just wants to sign this agreement. And then we have warrants that a long time ago, when I first started, for efficiency, we decided that the chair and I would review the warrant and approve it each week. And that has happened, except some I don't have approvals for, signatures for when Rob was chair. And I just have the one from the last one for Eric to sign.
I need to sign those.
Yep.
We're being found, you know? I keep forgetting. On TV.
Don't think about it. Might mess up your game.
I used to do a lot of theater.
Here you go, sir.
Sir.
I'm just gonna double check that. Sure, make sure that all actually, at least two of us.
We do have an application that is absolutely not complete. It's actually, I couldn't even call it an application. But Mimi's wants to do all alcohol. So she submitted a very, very partial application that there's no way we can act on. So I've reached out to Michelle. I haven't heard back from her, but we're renewing their beer and wine, but they're gonna wanna go to full alcohol. I think they're gonna be open for dinner soon.
So full alcohol would be gin,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah. And that is all I have, I think.
Oh, Eric.
Move to adjourn?
Did you do it? Did you do it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Adjourn it.